Stuart Walker, Associate Director at Johnston Carmichael Wealth. I'm also responsible for learning and development within the wider Johnston Carmichael Wealth business. So Johnston Carmichael Wealth themselves were part of a wider business owned by Johnston Carmichael Chartered Accountants and Business Advisors. So they are effectively our owners, but we are a separate company that sits within their banner. In terms of Wealth itself, we have just over 60 employees. We have 17 financial planners, and in terms of Wealth employees, we're spread across there's about 6 offices that we have specific Wealth employees in. So I think for us it's split down into 3 areas. So the first area I'm going to touch on was just how do we expand, how do we grow, how do we increase in size, how do we bring in some more financial planners, how do we upskill our current staff to become financial planners or to become technical specialists or paraplanners as we call them. So that was the first aspect of it, is how do we in effect grow our own and give the current employees that we have the opportunity to effectively become whatever they want to within our firm. The second point for us was the changes from the CII and the PFS in terms of the number of financial planners that we require within our firm to be chartered, to retain our chartered status. So with effect from January of this year, you require 50% of your financial planners to be chartered to enable you to maintain and to hold on your chartered company status. And for us that was a big thing. It's very important to us to retain that status, and therefore given our numbers of financial planners and our increasing number of financial planners, it's really important to ensure that we remain at the 50%. And in terms of the third and extremely important point to us has been a lot of the legislation changes and legislative changes that have come in with effect from this year. So in particular GDPR, and how do we roll that out and ensure that our staff are properly trained with that, and also the changes to the senior managers and certification regime, which is also a big area that's been extremely important to us as a business, and something we've had to roll out to all of our financial planners by the end of the year. So I think personally, and for us as a business, the biggest challenge for us is the fact that we have multi-sites. So we have a number of different offices around Scotland, and we also, therefore, we have a number of different employees in different offices. And part of our biggest challenge was how do we roll out training, how do we help people, do we upskill them, how do we help them with their exam progress, giving them potentially more than just a CII book, how do we help them with all of that, and how do we make sure that we can roll that out from a consistent point of view across all of the offices rather than potentially maybe in some of the bigger offices. And that was the biggest challenge for us, and in our discussions with RM Advance, it became pretty clear to us that they could provide us with a relevant solution that would enable us to do that. So a big part is exams, and so we have actively encouraged as many of our team members and staff as possible to increase their qualification level, to get to a minimum, whether that is certificate level, whether that's your diploma level, whether that's your chartered level. We've seen a significant increase in the number of people who have been encouraged to do exams. A large part of that has been because their colleagues have been using the RM Advanced system and the platform and the learning material that's held on there, and the feedback from them has encouraged other people to have a go at it. So we've been going through a bit of a transition in the business, just changing some of the roles that people have been doing, and part of that's been the creation of what we call a client liaison team, and they're involved with the clients on a day-to-day basis alongside the financial planners. So it was important for us as a business to offer them something rather than just technical, rather than just exams. If they weren't going to go down that route and they weren't increasing their technical knowledge because they weren't required given their role, it was important that through the soft skills programme we could also roll that out to them as well, so that they felt part of the wider business. Probably been the biggest part that surprised me the most. If we're honest, when we were looking at RM Advance, initially it was very exam focused. It was, what can we get to help our people with their exam journey rather than just giving them a book and letting them get on with it. So that was a big part of it. We felt that we wanted to offer them more, and it's ticked that box completely. The bit that we've probably been more surprised about is how easy it is to build your own content. And I think what we've found over particularly the last 6 months of using it, is that we have actually, the focus for us as a business has been, let's build our own content, let's roll out our own processes, let's roll out some legislation changes and build it using RM Advance. In terms of the content and the building of our own content, that's been probably the single biggest change in our business, and from a cost saving point of view, from a time saving point of view, it's just been, given we've got multi-sites, we've got multi-offices, it's expensive for us to get everybody together. It's expensive because we have to travel, it's expensive because we have to take them off doing their day-to-day job, so there's a big expense involved in that. And also, so for us to be able to roll out any changes in processes, changes in legislation as I referred to earlier, but be able to do that electronically and to roll that out to people has been the biggest change. Any change, there's always a wee bit of concern. Is this going to be another tool, another system that I'm going to have to use, that I'm going to have to be asked to use, that I'm going to have to learn to use? And I think there was a wee bit of concern around that. We've been using it a lot more than we perhaps thought we were going to use it, just really because it's incredibly easy to use. It's very user friendly. And in terms of the staff and employees, I think the more they use it, the more they are successful from an exam point of view, the more comfortable they become with it. RM Advanced material is much more focused, it's straight to the point, tells you what you need to know to pass your exams, tells you what you need to know to be successful with your exams. But I think just for some people, they just felt that the step away from lots of content to more focused content was a wee bit uncomfortable for them. In terms of positive, a lot of the really positive feedback has been from how we've delivered our own content. Whether that's processes, as I have touched on that a bit earlier, but how we've rolled that out, how user-friendly it's been for people to use. We've been doing some mock testing internally as well. We've used it for our for CPD, for the ongoing learning for our advisors, and I think they've been really impressed by how easy it is. Far easier than the system that we used to use for CPD and for testing. They found that much easier, and I think for us also, it gives us an excellent audit trail. So that's been a big positive for us, is it gives us an audit trail of who's done the training, were they successful with any testing that we've got around the training, and therefore we can use that from some of our business MI. I think one of the biggest surprises, and something that we didn't even think of at all, was when we bring on new employees, whether they're financial planners or whether they're all levels in the business, they've been incredibly impressed with the system and how professional it looks. And the comments that we've been getting is, well, I didn't get anything like that in my previous employer. It's far better than I could possibly have imagined. I'd get that level of support, that a business would be that encouraged and it would help me, whether it's through exams and so on, and encourage me to progress. So I think for us as a business, it's probably just raised our profile and raised us from a professional looking firm. So I think there's a few points. First point has been just how much more professional it has made us look as a firm and looked as a business. I think also if you want to improve the knowledge of your staff and of your team, you want to upskill them, you want to help them get towards qualifications, then it's certainly, I wouldn't hesitate bringing it into your business. We've been astounded at how easy it is to use, how easy it was to set up, and the level of support that we get is first class. Yeah, so something that's extremely important to us as a business is to grow your own, and that's really just so in an ideal world, we would only ever recruit, and I hate to use the phrase, we'd only ever recruit from the bottom. So we would only ever bring people down there and effectively we just push everybody up. So I appreciate that that's not always possible. You have to bring in people at certain levels at certain times. But as a business, that would be our kind of dream scenario. Ideal scenario, only ever recruit from the bottom and give everybody the opportunity to push up the way. So that's really important to us as a business, that whole piece around growing your own. And I think since we brought on RM Advanced, it's enabled us to probably see that as being a far more realistic proposition than we potentially initially thought. And certainly that has pushed us on much quicker than we thought we would get to that place that we actually think that it's probably not far away, that that's something that we're going to be able to achieve. So a couple of our core values are to remaining relevant and leading from the future. So in terms of remaining relevant, we're obviously able to do that using the RM Advanced system and the platform, because we can make sure that our staff are all fully aware of legislation changes, of technical changes, and making sure that they're at the top of their game. And also our second value of leading the future, RM Advanced has enabled us to effectively give everybody the opportunity to go as far within the business as they want to, or as they are capable of doing, and to make sure that we provide them with sufficient support to enable them to do that and to help lead our future.